real about, because I feel that approaches like that we're going to learn about, communities taking the approach like the Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland has taken with their communities, are really the future of senior living. And I'm real excited to welcome Dr. Janet Buchanan and Nathan Miller to the stage, who are going to tell us a little bit more about some of the innovative things that were done at these two Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland communities. Dr. Buchanan and Nathan, thanks for joining us today. And Dr. Buchanan, I am really bummed that we're missing one person from our panel. We had one of your residents who's very involved in the energy efficiency movement that was going to join us as well, but unfortunately he fell ill, and I really hope that he's feeling better. Before we dive into the discussion and learn all about the ins and outs of what you all are doing, let's get to know the two of you a little bit better. Dr. Buchanan, I'll let you go first. Tell us a little bit about your background.
All right, thank you, Steve. Yes, and just I want to mention Ross's name. Ross Minchie was not able to be with us today, but he has been a wonderful integral part of some of our early work, and with an engineering background, he has some great expertise around our renewable energy efforts. I've been with the organization since 2010. My role is Vice President of Philanthropy, and in that role, in addition to other philanthropic endeavors and fundraising events and things like that, I also assist with special projects, and especially those things that are grant funded and other sources of revenue.
I love it. And then Nathan, and here, actually, let me, because I've got it handy. The organization that Dr. Buchanan works with is the Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland. And among other things, they run two communities, Lutheran Village at Miller's Grant, which is in Howard County, and then Carroll Lutheran Village, which is in Carroll County. And then Nate's organization is Bowerbird Energy Contractors, and they are partners with Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland on some of these energy efficiency initiatives. Did I get all that right?
Good, thank you.
Great.
You did.
But Nate, tell us a little bit about your background.
Oh, yes, sir. So, yeah, you got all that right. We worked with Lutheran on their LED retrofits, changing out the lights over there to go along with the solar project that they had going on. A little bit about me. My name is Nathan Martin, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Bowerbird Energy, as you just mentioned. We are a veteran-owned energy services contractor that we specialize in renewable energy and energy efficiency. We partner with businesses to help reduce their utility expenses and environmental impact through strategic engineering, procurement, and construction. So, we can come in and provide energy audits to give you a good idea of where you could save, which ROI would be on that project that we suggest. And so, at the end of the day, we just want to help you become more sustainable and lower your expenses.
I love it. Okay. Well, before we dive into our discussion, you all did a beautiful video that sort of spotlights some of the high points of the project at Carroll Lutheran Village. And I thought it would be a good idea. This is only 3 minutes, folks, but I think what it'll do is it'll enable us to lead into a discussion on how and why all these things were done, and prompt some questions. So I'm going to do my best to share this, and hopefully everybody can hear it and it plays correctly. It's always a crapshoot when you're doing a video over Zoom, right? So here we go, and then we will jump back into our discussion here. Okay. Whoops. Where is my little...
We are an aging services organization serving older adults in their retirement years. One of the more exciting efforts that we're involved in are a lot of green initiatives. Our organizations have been very purposeful in the last few years, seeking opportunities to have a smaller carbon footprint.
The amount of energy that we use on a daily basis is significant.
It's a large campus. It serves about 1,000 residents. We have dining venues and lots of public spaces and gyms and libraries and art studios, you name it. There was a lot of space, indoor and outdoor, where we needed to change out lots and lots of incandescent bulbs and fluorescents for LEDs. For philanthropy, we are always looking for lots of additional revenue sources. We started looking at the incentives and rebates that were available through our electric utility, Baltimore Gas and Electric. And one of those was this large LED initiative. This bid was one that was very attractive. It also came with a tremendous amount of expertise. It was very well modeled for us, so we knew exactly what we would save, how long it would take, what the costs were, what kind of product we were going to get. There are a lot of players out there, some of whom don't quite share all those details as well.
Working with Chris and his team was a pleasure. In project management, the three things that you really watch is scope, schedule, and budget. He made sure everything fell within budget. There was no hidden agenda or there was no outside of scope. He did what he said he was going to. And the one thing that I can always say about Chris is when they said they would be here, they were here. And that means a lot. We have a certain amount of times that we can get in and out of places, and we communicate that to the residents. For Chris and his team to be as punctual as they were, it made the planning and communication piece to our residents a lot easier and a lot smoother.
We've also seen a significant reduction in staff time for our maintenance staff in just changing out light bulbs. You know, when you put a bulb in that's going to last for 10 years, that's a big difference. Residents were very excited to see us moving forward with the green initiatives that we've embarked on. Every opportunity we have to be a good steward of the resources that they entrust to us is an important one.
All right. Well, I commend you on that wonderful video. That was excellent production values as well, and just communicated really clearly some of the things that you all are doing. And I realize after the fact that the way that I promoted this event, I was so excited just to hear that a senior living provider had installed solar panels that I didn't realize all the other things that you were doing there. So first off, and before we kind of dive into, because Dr. Buchanan, I'm really excited to kind of hear how this all was put together. And when you watch a video, it always seems like it's just, oh, we just made it happen, you know, but I know a lot of work happened. But one of the things that we talk about here on these discussions is, what does the future of senior living look like? What are the types of communities the features at various communities that that the new generation of older adults are going to want to embrace? And a year or so ago, we did we've done a couple of discussions on sustainability, and especially when I met your resident Ross, what I really think is these features, like creating a sustainable environment, implementing energy efficiency, these features are probably just as important to attract new residents and make your residents and employees feel like they're in a positive culture as adding a pickleball court or remodeling your lobby. In fact, they're probably even greater, is that if somebody is very focused on sustaining the environment, they're going to want to be in a community that is taking a serious steps as your communities are. So that's my little soapbox speech there. But Dr. Buchanan, tell us, how did all this come together? And I know you shared a slide deck with me. I'm happy to share any of those slides. You just tell me when.
Yeah, if you want to put that up, I've just got 2 or 3 brief slides that kind of tell that story a little bit. We started probably most of these projects in about 2015, 2016. We have had residents in both of our communities, Lutheran Village at Miller's Grant and Carroll Lutheran Village, which you can see down on the bottom left with all of its solar installation. And we've also added, and I'll talk a little more about some of the other sustainable efforts like electric vehicle charging stations. But we began with residents from both of our communities coming to us and saying, what kinds of things are we doing as an organization and in our communities for renewable energy efforts and green initiatives? They formed of their own little sort of ad hoc green committees that brought to us ideas. Ross and the group at Carroll Lutheran had gone around the community to other fairly large solar installations and learned about the things that they had done and the challenges that they had seen and the opportunities that they had garnered from that. So we began to look seriously at what grant opportunities and other incentives might be available, what the Department of Energy was doing in our community and making available. And so that, varies from state to state. There are a lot of incentives in our own community with our utility. They have a tremendous amount of opportunities that have been available to us. So we began to really look at all of those, explore them, see what kinds of, what were the requirements that would make those things available to us, and began to then put out some RFPs for LED. We started with the LED project, actually. Solar kind of walked alongside it, but we were able to complete that LED retrofit at both of our communities. Using Nathan and his team. They also have grown and expanded their services. So when we started on the solar project, they weren't quite into that space. They now do have that available. But we looked at the solar opportunities and tried to see in the world of solar, there's kind of 3 main areas that we explored. One was ground array solar. The second was rooftop solar. And the third is carport solar, which could be of a particular benefit to these multifamily kind of communities. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, and I'll share with you the areas that we have successfully completed to this point. We did building and energy audits for both of our communities. We installed electric vehicle charging stations in collaboration with our local utility. We did very large retrofits for all of our public spaces in terms of LED conversion, changing out bulbs and fixtures. And we the most recent completion is the solar panels that we've installed in both of our communities. We put about 400 panels on the roofs at Carroll Lutheran and over 1,000 at Miller's Grant, both reducing our energy usage by about 20%.
Wow, that's really significant.
And that doesn't include the additional energy savings that we got from the LED retrofit, which is about more than 70% of that lighting usage. Collectively, we are saving more than $200,000 a year on these energy initiatives, and we received more than 100,000 in grants and rebates and incentives in those efforts.
Wow, this is fantastic. Oh, whoops. So now, out of curiosity, do you have, how many of your residents are using electric vehicles now?
So we have, I kind of like to describe this as a build it and they will come, because we needed to have the charging stations
Exactly
before they could actually buy the vehicles, unless they lived in a home and had a garage. We have probably, I think we have 4 at one of our facilities, and just 1 at the other facility, but we just completed.
Oh no, but
they went live a couple of weeks ago. We also have some staff members who have, we employ, several hundred staff at both of our locations, as well as we have a lot of meetings and community members and visitors and
adult children coming to visit mom and dad,
right.
And they can plug in and charge while they're doing that. The other thing that I imagine, do you have plans to sort of update your service vehicles to potentially be electric vehicles in the future?
Absolutely, we do. Our fleet of vehicles, we're working on a grant program through the Department of Transportation for our buses, and the fleet of vehicles that we have lots of those little gators and those type things, and trucks and security vehicles, and we have most definitely looked and are moving to going to some direct electric vehicles. But again, we needed the charging stations in place before we could make that move.
Okay, Nate, let's get a little bit of the inside baseball here in terms of, number one, well, first off, Dr. Buchanan, I imagine that at some point in the planning phase, it's like, oh, somebody in your organization is like, we can just do this all ourselves. I think it's probably wise that you found a partner to help you through a lot of this decision making. And Nathan, tell us a little bit about, like, I'm curious about, the benefits of the LED or the incandescent to LED conversion. I think, as I was looking at those aerial photos, yeah, I mean, we all know that the fluorescent bulbs in the hallways and the screw-in light bulbs in our rooms and things like that are there. But when I was looking at the outdoor lighting, I was like, this is not just, oh, hey, let's just get a batch of light bulbs and change them out, is it?
No, not at all. The LED, you can use the LED lights anywhere from area lights, post top lights outside. Actually, you mentioned pickleball. We work with companies and install stadium lighting, so you can change over your tennis courts to LED lighting to increase, your pickleball, all those types of things. So LED, it's been around for quite a while now, but just they just continue to increase and get better at the things that they offer. So we were able to go in and do a lighting audit, measure foot candles around the facility to figure out exactly what was needed in particular areas. Foot candles is something that measures lumens per foot, and it needs to be a certain amount in certain areas, and those change from facility to facility. So you want to go in and make sure that all the areas, whether it be stairs, hallways, parking lots, are not only lit for safety, but also, just as you age, you lose the eyesight a little bit. So you're going to need it a little bit higher at certain facilities to make sure that you keep your clients, customers, your people that live there come to visit. Everybody's safe and able to look around. So yes, we were able to do it the inside and the outside of the facility. And I think, as you saw from the video, and unfortunately Ross isn't here, but he even brought up how much it's changed and how much the everyone around there just speaks positively of the new Bright campus.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Ross, Janet. So, I mean, we did a little discussion huddle, and he's just an amazing resident, but who's very involved. But in general, the resident population at the community and the families and visitors, what kind of reaction are you getting from them in terms of these improvements?
I think obviously it's very, very positive. They're happy to see us move in these directions. Some of these projects, although a bit costly up front, will have some really long-term savings for the organization. And our residents recognize that. They're really footing the bill, and these projects have probably 5 to 7 year return on investment at this point. So beyond that point, there's a lot of energy reduction that the organization will save, and the residents are, again, very supportive of sustainable kinds of efforts. They also, care about climate justice. So it's a combination of all of those things that appeal to our resident communities.
I love it. And I just happened to glance at your slide deck, and I see the next slide is talking about the Direct Pay and Inflation Reduction Act. How did this play into your what you did?
So if people only heard one thing, this is the one I would like for them to hear, and especially in terms of solar. If an organization is a tax exempt organization, this will allow organizations to receive. In the past, all of the solar opportunities were tax credit opportunities, and it required that nonprofits enter into arrangements with tax equity investors in order to gain the real gains that could be had from solar. The Inflation Reduction Act last fall added a direct payment anywhere from 30 to 50% of the total cost of a solar project available to all nonprofit organizations. So in addition to the savings we talked about earlier, we also will be seeing in the coming months a 30% direct payment back to us for the total cost of both of these projects that we just implemented.
Wow.
And that's available for any nonprofit organization. And the percentages have gone up even in the for-profit arena as well. So the tax incentives have increased as a result of the Inflation Reduction Act, and added a number of kind of a range of renewable energy projects that are available now to for-profit and not-for-profit organizations.
Man, that's great. And then Peter has a question. He says, what is the expected solar payback? And I think you said 5 to 7 years. Is that
so?
What
our solar is probably with this 30% that we're receiving, it will reduce it from about 12 years to 7 years.
Wow. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, it's typically between 5 to 10. It's different on each project, but you're typically looking at an ROI on solar between 5 to 10. And then the solar panels themselves should last with regular maintenance between 25 to 30 years. So you have a pretty substantial amount of time after that ROI.
Now, I know I'm getting in the inside baseball here, and you all did a lot of research on this, but like, for example, my family had a farm in Western Massachusetts, and I know that we had received offers for like solar companies to sort of, hey, we'll come in and we'll use your land and we'll put the panels up and then, you know, kind of pay you for that. Did you ever entertain offers like that, or because you all want to take full ownership of this this project, correct?
So we had, there's a number of things to look into and consider, and we learned a lot of this along the way. One of the things that we learned in our Carroll Lutheran Village facility, which has a lot more land, and we had looked at first into the opportunity to do a large ground solar array that would have provided us an even greater amount of energy reduction. That is not allowable in our city by permit. And we didn't know that. It's allowable in the county. So we had seen these projects around the community, but within the city limits, it was not. So those were some of the lessons learned for us. At our other campus in Miller's Grant, we have a much smaller land footprint and we don't have the space for those solar arrays. So there were a number of lessons that we learned along the way. Important to find out what the local code and permitting restrictions might be in some of that decision making, as well as what the local utility will allow. So some will allow, and they have a number of interconnection rules, and some will allow different ways. Some will purchase back energy from you, some will not. So there are a number of those kind of considerations that we learned and explored along the way. Certainly, Nathan and Chris and their team were great in doing all of that for us with our LED projects, and they have been really great partners along the way, just to ask questions: what's coming up, what's new, where else should we be looking? Well, you know, what about, you know, for example, smart thermostats and energy reductions and those sort of things? What are some of the things that we might consider into the future? And they also are really a great resource for what's happening around the renewable energy space overall. We're the experts in healthcare. They're the experts in renewable energy.
Yeah, and just to expand on that a little bit, she mentioned it, but it's actually called net metering, which is when certain regions will allow businesses to basically sell extra energy that is produced from your solar panels back to the grid. So it would be net metering if you wanted to look up in your specific area if that's allowed. But that's something that you could certainly take advantage of as well if your state or region or whatever it is allows that.
And I've heard in some of these situations where the power just it's automatically goes to the municipality, and then you're basically utilizing whatever you're utilizing and it balances out. But in this situation, you all, the power generated is not going to the city or the county, it's just being used on site, correct?
So with us, we don't have, so there is on-grid and off-grid solar.
Okay.
We don't have, for example, batteries that are storing the solar like a lot of homeowners might in their solar installations. We simply are reducing our energy bill, if you will, from the utility.
Okay, excellent. And the other thing, you know, that I love the idea of is the smart thermostats and the smart home there, because, you know, think about that resident that's like, my apartment is a little bit chilly or a little too warm. The ability for a team member to literally go on and make that adjustment without having to visit the resident's room necessarily. Is that how something like that would work, Nate, if you did a multifamily style smart installation?
Yeah, so yeah, that's the way that would work, and it would help. Also, the way you could do it, where it's actually most beneficial, is you can have it set to where maybe it changes temperatures in areas when not in high use. So like we set one up in a church, and from Monday through Friday when they're in the offices and everything, there's really not a big need to keep the auditorium comfortable to be in. You just need to keep it at a temperature not to damage the interior. So smart, that would kind of be a better way to explain it. It's just controlling certain areas of your building not to be at maximum energy use when you're
they're not
not
in use. And
kind
there's
of like sensors on lights.
Yeah.
Sensors on lights is another big one that we use, especially in stairwells. With the LEDs, you can have them to where instead of going completely out, so your resident doesn't walk into a dark stairwell, which can be terrifying sometimes. They can actually dim from 100% down to 20%, 30%, whatever you prefer. But that it also is saving you money by turning down utilities when not in use. So that would be a better example of that.
I love it. All right. And of course, Janet, I took a peek at your slide deck again, and I'm really excited about this next slide, which is lessons learned. You want to walk through some of these things, because this is one of the main reasons why I was excited to feature you all today, is to, what did you learn here, and what mistakes can you share with other providers that are interested in doing something similar? And I have to say, I mean, you all are one of the pioneers in this space, but I really look forward to the day when all the senior living communities are taking steps in this direction.
Well, so we've hinted at a few, and thank you for this. I think I want to start by saying, don't let it deter you. It's just a few things to maybe ask questions about a little earlier, or things that we didn't know or think about. So first were those local code and permit restrictions. We originally had a design for a big ground array, and then learned that wasn't even possible. So what are the types of solar installations that are allowed? Obviously, if you're going to be doing rooftop solar, you want to start with the condition of a roof. So we were only able to do part of one of the campuses, because we knew that the other part needed a roof replacement first before we could move to that area. There are also sometimes restrictions on what that rooftop looks like, and how much it can extend from the roof, and all of those sort of things. The next was just questions about that sort of stereotypical make or buy analysis. Do we own it? Do we bring in equity investors? How much maintenance do we want to put in place? As an example, with our electric vehicle charging stations, we had a couple of great options. One, we could have installed and owned those stations and charged a rate for the usage, or we could have our local utility come in and do all of that work, own it themselves. We decided on the latter, because it meant for us that we didn't have to keep up with software updates and ongoing software costs and maintenance costs. And we just decided not to get into the electric vehicle charging station maintenance business, but allow the utility to do that 100% for us.
Oh, Janet, I want to jump in with another question that I thought was great. When you're talking about maintenance, and you're talking about the large ground solar array, related to the maintenance involved, it's one thing when you run the lawnmowers on that land right now, but it's a whole different ball of wax in terms of the maintenance of the grounds under that you're not dealing with the rooftop as much. Is that correct?
I'm going to let Nate speak to that one, because since we didn't go in that direction.
Yeah, so I mean, that's absolutely correct. It kind of, you're of course going to have that issue if you go, just in a field of grass. I think, Janet touched on it a little while earlier. They do have a lot of other options to do it on the ground and also give additional benefits. They have great canopy options for your parking lot, which not only are you don't have to cut grass in the parking lot. That's one positive, but also you're provided a very nice shade for your residents' cars, walking in and out, and it provides just an open area for you. She touched on it. You don't have to worry about the roof being affected, or typically if your roof is under about 10 years from the end of life, you're going to want to replace it before you put a 30-year solar panel on there. Just makes sense. So, there's positives and negatives. I haven't directly been a part of putting something on the ground other than canopies, but there's certainly other ways around it which provide, they even have some curved solar lights that you can put over sitting areas for your residents, which I've seen that before, whether it be just a park bench so there's certainly a lot of different areas options. If your region, of course, like Janet said, if your town will allow it. So yes, the simple answer is there's going to be extra, work involved around if it's planted in a larger grass area. I don't necessarily like the look of that myself, although I could see the benefits of it. But there's definite ways, you can get around it. Pickleball courts, you can put a solar canopy over a bench when they need to take a rest. There's just a lot of ways to work around it. And when you have somebody come in and do an energy audit of your facility and have a meaningful conversation with you, you can really
explore all the different options.
Explore all the options and then put the ball in their court on, what they want to go with.
Okay, good. Well, here, let's get back. That was awesome. And so many things that you don't understand until you kind of uncover it. But okay, I know I cut you off here with that question, but I think
that's okay. Well, and just to tag on to that, if anyone is interested, there's a wonderful town. One of our resident engineers shared this with me. There's a wonderful town in Florida called Babcock Ranch. Babcock Ranch. And if you Google Babcock Ranch, they are wanted to become one of the first solar communities, 100% solar communities. They have solar trees and all kinds of really interesting, fascinating installations. Their solar trees will power your cell phone charger or something like that. So if you want to see a town that has really taken this to great advantage, it's a wonderful thing to explore and take a look at.
I just pulled it up. I'm going to pull that up on the screen.
Show us a picture of the solar
because
trees.
What I love is that the way that this town bills themselves as is a new kind of hometown, the hometown of the future here. So, oh wow, look at that.
See if you can see a picture of their solar tree. It's a great.
What is it called? The solar.
It's called a solar tree.
Let's see. It says, "Life powered by the sun. We're America's first solar-powered town. We're passionate about it. Our 870-acre solar farm to solar tree charging stations." So let's see if we can get a good. Holy cow! Look at that. But there is so much extra. Okay, there's the solar tree.
That's the solar tree.
Oh man, that is really cool. Oh, what a cool. Thanks for sharing that. That's I had no idea about that town, and I'm sure a lot of folks haven't heard about that, but I'll drop that into chat as well. But okay, back to the list of lessons learned.
So lessons learned, obviously the local utility, our local utility, Baltimore Gas and Electric, has an incredible number of grants and incentives. They do also have rules and regulations and interconnection rules that are important to know about as you're exploring these kinds of projects. And we received a number of incentives and grants on that LED project. They paid for the bulk of our building audit project that reduced some energy efficiencies. So looking to one's local utility is not only important to look at their regulations, but also they can be a great partner. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say, in this day and age, supply chain is one of those things to make sure you think about and plan for delays. We've had delays in materials. We've had delays in just especially subcontractors, people, design folks, electrical engineers, folks that need to design some of these pieces. Sometimes that has delayed the projects. Our regulatory bodies, again, sometimes they make requirements and requests, and even just personnel changes that happen along the way in these very large projects. So plan for a few delays in whatever the timeline might look like. And then finally, the great partners that we've had, the great partnership we've had with Bowerbird, with our local utility, even with some of our, the better partnerships that one has with the local governing agencies, make a big difference in going a long way in making these projects successful in the long term.
Man, this is great. This is a great overview. I'm just blown away at what you're doing, and I'm excited for the day that we wake up and this is standard practice everywhere. What if you had to sort of look in a crystal ball, like what do you think some of the next projects in this space are? And we've been talking mainly about energy efficiency. Are there any like renewables and recycling initiatives that are going on the campus?
Most certainly, we've had residents passionate about recycling for a very long time. We've moved into a recycling program. In the midst of COVID, we, like a lot of communities, found ourselves delivering meals to all of our residents for months on end. In one of our communities, we've just moved to a recycling program where all of the containers that we deliver meals are 100% recyclable. So there's a lot of opportunities and efforts in those ways. We live in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, so we are also doing some important stormwater watershed management kinds of efforts. We've done extensive tree planting. We've tried to move to more native plantings, like a lot of communities have looked at. As we said earlier, moving some of our vehicle fleet to electric vehicles. We've even done things like, for example, taken the desktop printers off of all of the office spaces and moved to desktop scanners, so that we're trying to reduce that footprint a bit as well. We have community gardens, like a lot of people, wildlife habitats. You saw some of our purple martin houses and things like that. So we have
I love that on the video, the martin houses. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm. I think in the future we have the opportunity to extend our solar opportunities as we build and as some of our new buildings come online. We also would like to see, we did LED replacement in all of our public areas. We have some, in people's private homes, there's continue to be some opportunities and initiatives, as well as just whatever renewable energy opportunities, initiatives, programs come down the pike. Our utility company has new incentives every few years, and so we continue to look at what are they interested in. Appliances, all of that, Energy Star and those type of things, in a facility that has multi-family dwelling. There's a lot of washers and dryers and refrigerators and all of that. So really, in some ways, the more you think about it, the more opportunities that you see and can take advantage of. And I go back again to the wonderful partnerships with our residents and the ideas and the opportunities that they know about or see or bring to us. They sometimes have some great expertise, and they have real passion about being our partners as well.
And
I love
just to add to that, it's really good to check and keep up with your local energy provider, because they change things very often. And it's either because government passes something for rebate programs or whatever the case may be, but they'll change and like right now, we're working with Dominion Energy, and they have a big kick on healthcare facilities, which senior living would be a part of, and also multifamily, which senior living would be a part of. So you can get rebates for as little stuff as changing the shower head in some areas, changing out just simple downlights that you really wouldn't think anything about in your living room. A lot of places will offer great rebates for those, even those small things that you don't think about. So it's always good to get on your local, here it's Dominion Energy, but whatever it is, get on there and just look around at the different rebates and see what they're pushing. And then, you can have somebody like Bowerbird, come in, and we can do a full energy audit for you, to let you know where you're missing some things, whether it be on the HVAC side. Lighting's kind of an obvious one, but we can run tests and stuff like that to figure out if you're missing out on anything. And there's something called benchmarking, where we can actually run your numbers and let you know where you stand with like facilities around you in the area. With that, we also will tell you, what projects we would suggest. And I think Janet could tell you we're very transparent. So we're going to tell you what the project is going to cost and the real ROI on it, so that you can make the decision on, HVAC is giving us a problem, lighting's giving us a problem, this is giving us a problem. And we'll just give you all the information, and you can make a good decision on which one to tackle first, or, take care of all of them. But we're not the only ones, but I would just suggest to people that energy audits are a great idea, just to see where you stand and see where you can move forward, sustainably.
Love it. This has been an awesome discussion today. And, from the perspective of an operator, doing things that are responsible, but also in creating a community that is a wonderful culture for the residents and for the employees. I'm hats off to y'all in going in this direction. Any sort of closing thoughts? I will. This is recorded, and so this will be up, and I'll have all of your all's contact information and website and the things that we referenced. But anything that we missed, or anything that you can think of that you might want to add?
So one thing I wanted to say, and it's kind of fresh in my mind because we just did a project here for Langley Air Force Base, but she was touching on the different types of solar, and depending on, pretty much any senior facility, in my opinion, would be a good, and actually sparks because you said you use a lot of water at your facilities. Solar thermal is something that is popular right now. And it's a little more expensive on the initial install, but what it does is it actually uses the solar energy to preheat your water at your facility, so that once it gets to the water heaters, it's at a higher level temperature, and so it takes less energy to heat it. So we did it at Langley Air Force Base for their gymnasium, and they're already asking us to come back, or working on project to come back and make that capacity larger so that it can help heat their pool and handle the showers and everything there. So I would say to communities, especially like you guys, don't forget to check that out. Solar thermal is a great idea for anybody that uses a lot of water, and I think we can all agree that multifamily and senior living use a lot of water.
Oh yeah, yeah. But oh, that's good. That's great. And actually, I had one of those solar preheaters on the roof of my house from the 80s, and we didn't think it was working, and needed to do some improvements. And let me tell you, when we disconnected that, life has not been the same since then. You know, it was, you turn on your water and it's warm water. There's no waiting. We actually had somebody come out and audit that panel, and we can reconnect that. It just needs a separate water heater. But these
Yeah.
are all the things that none of us know, and why we rely on experts like you and your team, Nathan. Dr. Buchanan, any sort of closing thoughts? I feel like we covered a lot here.
Just thank you for this opportunity. We're really happy to be able to share the wonderful projects that we've implemented with our community partners, and working towards those renewable energy efforts, those cost efficient, long-term savings for our communities. We look forward to what's next around the corner, and we're really grateful to just be a part of that discussion.
And I have to say, it's like I'm just my thoughts are with Ross, and hope that his health changes. But I want to get you guys back on the calendar, because I love it when we can introduce the residents of these communities that are doing exciting, purposeful activities. And so we'll do another one of these, and we'll talk about this and let Ross share the residents' perspective, which I think is a wonderful aspect that you guys have brought the residents into all of this. All right, folks. Well, this has been amazing. Like I said, recording will be up a little bit later. We'll see you at the next one. Thanks a lot, Nathan and Dr. Buchanan.
Thank you.